I recently watched a YouTube video about a young man who has this wonderful ability to learn foreign languages and then goes to different restaurants and uses the language to order food. And as I thought about that, I thought about, at times it can be so overwhelming to learn a foreign language, but yet there's another language that is essential for each of us to learn, and that is our body language, because it speaks messages to us, and the more adept we are at reading that, the better we are at communicating with other people. Today, we're going to explore the question, how do you read people's body language? When it comes to reading people's body language, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed. Where do I start? There is so much data that's coming. Today I want to break that down into 3 specific areas for you to look at to make the job of reading body language much easier. Today we're going to look at people's facial expressions. We're going to look at people's body language whenever they feel relaxed, and people's body language whenever they feel distressed. Hi everyone, my name is Irvine Nugent, and for over 20 years I've been helping leaders expand their emotional intelligence, and part of that is helping them read the emotions in other people. I'm also a FACS certified coder. That is a facial action coding system expert, one of a handful of people in the world who are able to read people's emotions even when they are suppressed. So today we're going to explore 3 different ways of reading people's body language. The first area is in the face. You see, the face is the most important area to look at whenever it comes to reading body language. Why is that? Body language is not generally universal. We have to be very careful whenever we are reading body language. If you do a Google search, you'll find many different sites which will say if you do this, it means this, if you do that, it means that. And you have to be very careful because very often body language has a context. And why the face is so important is that it's the only place where we can pick up on universal body language. Now, we have one person to thank for this. It's Dr. Paul Ekman. If you watched the series Lie to Me, then you'll have been exposed to some of his work. But what he discovered was that there are 7 universal facial emotions that no matter where you are in the world, and no matter the age of the person, the sex of the person, those emotions will show up in the same way. So what are those emotions? Surprise, fear, anger, disgust, contempt, happiness, and sadness. Whenever we begin to learn those emotions and how they show up in the face, we're able to realize that in this moment, this person is feeling this emotion. Now, why is that important? It's important because it can help us be a lot more thoughtful in how we respond. So let me give you an example of how this works. I remember when I was CEO of a company and I had a project that had a really tight deadline. And so we're having a meeting about the deadline and about how it had been moved up. And I wanted to make sure that everyone was on board about this deadline. And so as the meeting went on, I gave the new date and I asked everyone around the table, are you okay with this? Are you going to be able to turn in your work? And of course, everyone said yes. But just because someone says yes doesn't necessarily mean that they're on board. Because I noticed out of the corner of my eye, one of the most important people in this project flashed a look of fear on their face. And you can recognize fear because the eyelids reach up and they're almost parallel with each other. And there is a look in the face that just shows a fear. And so therefore I realized when I saw this fear that this person really wasn't on board. Now, I didn't say, hey, you know what, you're fearful. What I was able to do was to ask another question. Is there something that we're not considering? Are there any other variables that make that date difficult or that time difficult? And then the person was able to say, well, we haven't really considered this and this is going to be really tough. And therefore being able to read an emotion in the moment can truly help us ask better questions and help us get to what a person is really feeling. The second area of body language that's important to consider is how does a person show off body language whenever they feel relaxed? Just think about that and you'll be able to come up with some of the areas of body language. But in general, When a person feels relaxed, one of the things that happens with their body is that it begins to take up more space. Whenever we feel that we are in a place that is friendly to us, whenever we feel confident, then we begin to have more space in our body. You see, right in the center of our torso, we are the only mammal that exposes our organs. And so whenever we feel stressed, one of the things is we begin to cover them up. And when we feel relaxed, we're able to open our bodies and we're able to expose those organs. And it's a clear sign that the person feels relaxed in the moment. The second thing that happens whenever a person feels relaxed is eye contact. Whenever we feel at peace and relaxed, we begin to make normal eye contact with another person. Now, we have to be very careful here because eye contact is culturally sensitive. And so in our Western culture, about 60% of the time we make eye contact with other people. However, in other cultures, for example, the Far East, a normal amount of time is much less, maybe 40 or 30% of the time. And that's important because if we're speaking to a person from another culture, we can misinterpret something like eye contact. And so we have to be sensitive to the cultural norms. But in general, if a person is relaxed in our Western culture, you're going to experience about 60% of eye contact. The third area is smiling. You know, the smile is the emotion that we see from the longest distance. And there's a reason for that. During our evolution, we had a priority, and that was to know if the person coming towards us was a friend or a foe. And one of the ways that we knew that a person was a friend was that they developed a smile. A smile was a sign that I come in peace, that I am friendly. And so therefore, if a person is smiling, what we'll find is that that person is relaxed. What's also interesting about the smile is that it's also highly contagious. And so when we smile, another person begins to pick it up as well, which actually moves us to the next point, and that is mirroring. You know, part of being a human being is that we are built for connection with other humans. And part of the way that we build connection is that we actually begin to mirror the body language of another person. And so if you take some time and you look at two people having a conversation, one of the things that you'll begin to notice is that when you look at that conversation, you'll be able to see signs of mirroring. So when a person perhaps crosses their leg, the other person will cross their leg. Whenever you see a person perhaps scratching the side of their face, the other person will almost scratch the side of their face as well. This is a sign of connection and a sign that the conversation is something that is enjoyable to both people. And then two other signs that you can pick up whenever you're in a situation that a person feels relaxed and a person is connected with another person is, first of all, head nodding. And so this is a nonverbal way of expressing agreement, that a person agrees with you. And so in any conversation where there's deep connection, you'll find head nodding in both people. And then finally, you'll also find fronting. And what we mean by fronting is that whenever we feel connected with another person, we'll find that the whole body is fronted, is facing the other person. There isn't a turning away of any part of the body. And so when you see two people in conversation, what you'll find is that their heads are aligned, their bodies are aligned, and their legs are aligned as well. All of these are signs that there is connection. And so rather than trying to remember all the different areas of body language, the next time you see a conversation, have a look at what's happening. Do you see any of these signs? If you do, then it's a good sign that there is a deep connection happening in that conversation. Before we get to the final point in today's video, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel, to press the bell. Every week we come out with a new video which explores areas of emotional intelligence, helping you be a better reader of body language like today, and a better reader of emotions both at home and at work. The third area of body language to explore is the opposite of the point we explored before, and that is, do we see signs of discomfort? Do we see signs of disconnect happening before us? And so what are some of those signs of disconnect? Well, the posture begins to take a closed appearance. Whenever we feel anxious, whenever we feel disconnect, Whenever we feel fear, one of the things that happens is that our body begins to contract and protect itself. I've already mentioned that we're the only mammal that exposes our organs. And so therefore, whenever we feel under threat, whenever we feel fear of any type, whenever we feel disconnect from another person, one of the things that happens instinctively is that we begin to cover up and protect this area. And so if you're looking at a conversation and one of the person is covering this area, or their body is a little bit hunched or is becoming hunched, you'll know that they have moved and transitioned into a feeling of discomfort and potentially disconnect. Another great sign of looking for discomfort is an increase in patterns of behavior which are showing some of that discomfort. Now, when it comes to body language, baselining is incredibly important. You see, we are creatures of habit, and sometimes we have habits that can be misinterpreted. And so say if we've got a habit of fidgeting, that we rock our legs or we kind of scratch the side of our face, and that's the norm for us, that can be misinterpreted. But if a person really doesn't do that normally, and in a conversation you're beginning to see that person beginning to fidget their legs, beginning to scratch the side or to rub the back of their neck, and this is what we call a manipulator, whenever that increases, it's a sign of growing anxiety. It's a sign of growing discomfort. And it's something to take note of because that person is transitioning away from comfort to discomfort. So there we have 3 different areas to look at. Hopefully in today's video, I've helped you kind of boil down all the different things that you can be looking at with your body language and really put it into 3 distinct areas: the face, signs of comfort, and signs of discomfort. If you've enjoyed today's video, I invite you to explore the next video, which looks at how to improve your virtual body language.